So again, welcome everyone. My name is Keely Cervantes. I am the Policy and Organizing Manager with the Community Alliance of Family Farmers. And thank you for coming today to our info session about our microgrants. We are very excited that we have this next round of microgrants available for distribution to different areas in California. So I'm going to briefly ask my partners in our FSA, our Farm Service Agency project, to introduce themselves and their organization. So I think there's just a couple here. And also Allison from FSA, if you want to also come off and introduce yourself and a little bit about the Farm Service Agency urban agriculture work, that would be great. Annalicia, do you want to go first?
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Annalisa Carr. I'm the Director of Policy and Coalitions at Los Angeles Food Policy Council, and we are helping to support the Southern California efforts within LA County and Orange County as part of this microgrant and the USDA FSA partnership with CAFF.
Maria-Lise?
Hello, everyone. I'm Maria-Lise DeMarco from Food Access LA, formerly CLA, and we are partnered in LA and Orange County with the LA Food Policy Council. It's lovely to meet all of you.
I don't think we have any of our Bay representatives on, but our Farm Service Agency cooperative agreement is both in LA and the Bay Area. The USDA had 17 pilot cities across the country that they started this cooperative agreement project with. And California is the only state that had two cities. So we are very lucky to be able to distribute these into a variety of areas. And so our Bay Area partners are Veggielution and Agroecology Commons. So if you're in the Bay, make sure to look them up if you don't already know them, which I'm sure you do. And then Allison from the Farm Service Agency, would you like to say hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Allison Bunyan from the Farm Service Agency. I'm an urban county program analyst, registering urban farms in the Bay Area with farm numbers so that they can apply for programs. We have disaster assistance programs, cost share programs, all different kinds. And I was just going to mention that we serve 10 different counties and counting in the Bay Area, specifically urban growers. So nice to meet y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so in addition to our Farm Service Agency cooperative agreement that we are giving funding out to growers in the Bay and LA areas, which we'll get a little bit more specific into counties and such in a little bit. But we also have funding from the California Department of Food and Agriculture to do a few microgrants in other areas of California. The priority areas are going to be Fresno, Sacramento, and the Inland Empire. However, anyone from any grower who is within 25 miles of an urban area is welcome to apply. We're just very excited about the ability to fund projects that are, building resilient communities and addressing some of these climate resiliency issues that we have going on in the state of California and increasing local food security. So moving on, why are we doing this with urban agriculture? Between the USDA and our organizations in California, we're really understanding that these issues, land, water, equipment, access, and sharing, that knowledge is really important to the future of agriculture. And it's very important to each individual, city, county, neighborhood. And so we understand that growers know what's best for their communities and what's best for their particular growing environments. And so we're trying to utilize these funds to empower growers to just use that money and build their businesses, build their community gardens, their farms, their school gardens, etc., to really grow and understand that a lot of the barriers to entry for agriculture in general is access to capital. And so that's what the main goal of this this cooperative agreement, the, CDFA farm to fork program that they have. They're really trying to utilize the community members, like our partners on the ground, to integrate this a little bit more and grow urban agriculture in California. So microgrant details. I'm going to go over just a little bit of information at the moment about what this is all about. Like what money do we have? Where is it going? What's the timeline? What are the priority areas? Things like that. So first of all, our awards are $10,000. That's sort of $10,000 flat. When you do your application, there is a budget that you need to upload, and that can show how you would use $10,000. A lot of different, grant programs will have a sliding scale and you choose how much money you're asking for. We just have, $10,000 awards available. We have about 20 available in LA and the Bay Area, and about the same available for our CDFA funded grants for the fall and early into 2025. So again, these projects that might need financial support to implement, that is the priority for sure. We have ample space for people to talk about what their project is going to do for their community, why the funds are, going to be important, what they're going to be utilized for, things like that. And we are giving priority additionally to operations that are led by or serve urban communities that have been historically underserved and have been historically left out of traditional lending methods through the state or the federal government. So our priority areas for some of our grants are the Los Angeles counties in the area of it's LA County and Orange County. In the Bay Area, the priority counties are Santa Clara, San Mateo, San Francisco, Alameda, Contra Costa, Marin, Solano, Napa, and Sonoma. And then, like I said earlier, we have other priority areas, Fresno, Sacramento, and the Inland Empire. But again, everyone throughout California who is within a certain distance of an urban center is able to apply for this. Mute a few people here. Okay. All right. So examples of fundable projects. You can use the money for farm equipment, farm supplies, cost of repairing or buying new infrastructure, and this includes labor. So in your budget, you are able to say that this is how much funding I need to pay people to build a hoop house or to build a storage shed, etc. You're able to put that labor related to your farm business as part of your budget. In addition, we know that insurance is a complicated matter in the state of California. And so it's very cost prohibitive, but we need farm insurance, especially as far as like agritourism is involved. So legal fees, business registration fees, insurance, etc., can be included. We also have an area in the application to talk about what sort of technical assistance you might need that's outside of the funding of this microgrant, but also if you want to be paying for particular technical assistance that pertains to your business, you can include that as well. So that includes equipment for beekeeping, bookkeeping, crop planning software, purchasing of flowers and fibers, indoor farming projects, cold storage, seed saving, medicinals, things like that. We also have, I'll put in the chat a little bit later, our landing page on the CAFF website. And that has some more of these examples. It has a lot of the Q&A that we're going to be going over as well. So there will be that resources available to you, as well as this being recorded. And we, as people involved in this project, are always available to answer questions as well. So the timeline for money, the important part. We have the applications open until the end of November. more information on that on the next slide. But that because of the holidays and the end of the year, our application closes the end of November. Our decisions will be made in early 2025 because throughout the month of December, the applications will be being reviewed. So early in January, we will let you know if you have been awarded a microgrant. We will let you know if you have not been awarded a microgrant. For the LA and Bay Area, microgrant awards, an environmental review process takes place with a representative from the Farm Service Agency. So the particular issues of each individual farm space and what needs to be asked and done for the Farm Service Agency and their environmental review can just take a little bit of time, especially reviewing 20 or so farms. So that is something to keep in mind. It's something that might delay the funds a little bit. And so we are really trying to ensure that these funds get to people at the start of the 2025 growing season. However, it might be April, May before you get your funding. Your funding comes from CAFF. We ensure that it goes directly into your bank accounts so that we don't have to deal with paper checks and things like that, to just make sure that we can expedite that process and ensure the funds get to growers as quickly as possible. So for the CDFA funded grants, which are in other areas of California, awards may be received by March 2025. So patience is required. Again, microgrants are open until November 30th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And again, I'm going to put this in the chat, this website right here, which has the application and has other FAQs. And looking at the chat here, yes, Margaret, we are recording, so I'll send everyone a copy of this video. And we'll put it on this web page as well for people to be able to access who were not able to attend today. So I want to thank our partners, Agroecology Commons, Food Access LA, LA Food Policy Council, Vegilution, and UC ANR, because they are doing a lot of the back end data collection for us and our great partners. And then our funders, the Farm Service Agency and CDFA. So now I am going to open up for questions. Feel free to put them in the chat or just come off mute. You can go on camera. It's really up to you how you want to ask questions. I'm going to go back through the chat here first just to see. I'm sure there's a few that I might have missed while I was speaking. Okay, so Don asked, when we say partners, what does it mean as it relates to groups that are not CAFF or USDA? So Marie-Lise answered, the partners organize Farm Service Agency grant activities, monthly newsletters, and twice a year urban grower gatherings at local urban farms. So that's just sort of an internal aspect of our cooperative agreement with the USDA Farm Service Agency as part of the funding that we received from them that we are sub-award giving to growers. Does Kern County qualify for the grant? It does not qualify for the FSA grant, but anywhere that is not those LA or Bay Area counties qualify for the CDFA grant. But again, the priority areas are going to be Fresno, Inland Empire, and Sacramento, but everyone is able to apply if you are within 25 miles of an urban center. Okay. Is there an example of how a school has used these funds? Yes. So we had a couple of school gardens get our first round of funding in the spring. And I believe a lot of their projects were going to be used, the money was going to be used for building beds, for education activities with kids. And I think like a storage shed was one of the other pieces of it. So it's really like equipment and like education facilitation. What are the highest priority projects in line with grant funding in the Bay Area? Um, I would say the projects themselves that are a high priority would be projects that really serve their community. So a lot of the ones that we've funded in the past are very directly growing food for neighbors, for pantries. We also want to support commercial growers who, as CAFF, or really our mission is to really keep small family farmers farming, and urban growers are family farmers. So a lot of the goal too is to ensure that commercial growers have access to this capital to grow their business and continue to grow, agricultural economic um, standards within their area, within their community, and sort of like just deepen their roots in those growing areas. So I think that is a big priority. We want organizations or commercial operations who are really like making an impact in their community. That's going to score you higher on our application. Again, we are prioritizing underserved communities, underserved growers, and the particular types of projects have just been really like, there's been a variety of applicants, and their projects have been really interesting to read about. What population number qualifies as urban? Let me go back here. An urban area of 25,000 or more, within 25 miles of that, those growers are encouraged to apply. Let's see. I think I skipped the question here. How many grants will be awarded? We have about 20 grants to award in the LA and the Bay Area, so it'll be 10 for each. And then we have about the same for the rest of California as well. So it's not a lot of grants because we are keeping them at $10,000 each grant. And so we really understand that that's not as many as we would like to award. It's not as many as you all would like to receive. So we acknowledge that, and we are going to do our best to get you funding, to get you a sort of network of funders and things like that as part of your application. If you aren't selected, being able to keep you updated of other opportunities for grants and growing within your community. What does the environmental review process entail, and what are the conditions to pass the review? Allison, if you want to chime in, please do. I would it's mostly like a ground disturbance. And so the reviewer is asking questions about like what the depth of basically any project that is going to, um, say you're building a hoop house and you're putting, the steel like poles into the ground. That's a ground disturbance. So they just need to evaluate what type of ground disturbance is going to happen, the depth, if you're putting in irrigation, what that sort of entails. If you're building a storage shed, are you going to be removing any existing infrastructure or plants in that area to do that? I think they cross-reference things with Fish and Wildlife to ensure like what sort of wildlife are in the area that might be displaced. So it's things like that that the federal government is just ensuring that they know all of the details about what is going to be happening on the land for that project. Even if you own the space, it's still a part of a condition essentially of them being able to award the money to a grower. Is there anything else, Allison, that might make sense to add?
I don't think so. I think you covered it well, and ultimately the person doing that I think would be at the national FSA level or state level, so it's not something that I think I would be involved in.
Yeah, it's someone through the Farm Service Agency at the state, but I think part of why it also takes a little bit of time, and this isn't just California, it's everywhere throughout the country that's doing these particular grants. Um, I think it's just there's a lot going on at FSA, and so this in for example, the reviewer that we've been working with for the last ones, she this wasn't like her full-time job, so she was doing this in addition to her job, and so it just takes a little bit of time, to contact people and get meetings set up and get the review done. And most of them are over the phone or Zoom. Some of them are in person, and so it just kind of depends on the project and the timeline.
A grant ever been denied because of the environmental review process?
No, not
Okay.
the we had 24 uh grants that we awarded in the spring, and 20 of them needed environmental review, and no, none of them were denied. It's
Yeah.
mostly just covering bases. Thank you for that. All right. Okay, so do you foresee future rounds of these or similar grants? That is a great question. For our FSA money, this is the last round. We had two rounds total. The first one was in the spring, and then this round. And then the CDFA grants, this is the only round for those as well. However, because this is helping CAFF be really, adept at distributing microgrant subaward funding, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to continue partnerships with the USDA, with NRCS, with FSA, with CDFA, to be able to keep, facilitating these grants throughout however long they want to give us money. So I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to do a new project after this like 3-year project is done. Okay. Oh, one more person. Okay, so David asks, are grants awarded preferentially to nonprofits? No, they are not awarded preferentially to nonprofits. There are probably, of the 24 that we awarded in the spring, maybe half of them were nonprofits. Obviously, nonprofits don't have to pay taxes on the funding that we give. So we do take that, you have to take that into consideration. In addition, if you are not a nonprofit, is fiscal sponsorship required? Yes. If you are, for example, a community garden and you do not have any way to accept the funds for your entity, your organization, etc., if you don't have an LLC or a 501(c)(3), etc., then you will need a fiscal sponsor. And so that is a great question to keep in mind. One of the gardens that we awarded a microgrant to this year is still working on finalizing their fiscal sponsorship. So it's definitely an important part of the process to be able to accept funds. And so yes, it's a required field in the application. We're just asking like, are you able to accept funds? Essentially, we just want to know if that's something we need to work with you to finalize.
That makes sense.
And
Thank you.
yeah. And yes, so I think that does satisfy the question on the application, David. Okay, can a city of 22,000 population apply for this grant? That's a good question, Johnny. I think the way that CDFA defines urban agriculture, it would need to be either a city that's over 25,000 or 25 miles within an area. of 25,000. So I don't think that that would qualify, unfortunately, as an urban agriculture project. Um, and yes, Maria Elise, if you want to put that in the group chat, please do. All right. Are there limits in terms of the size, acreage, production levels, and or revenue by which growers are qualified? No. There's, you can apply for this if you're literally growing on 10 by 10, or you can apply for this if you're growing on 10 acres. We don't have a sort of size limit or and base level. And revenue, no, we don't have any. And I think that's a good question, because a lot of the difficulty when you are a grower and you're a new business is that you don't have, revenue to show, which is a lot of times when people will give you funding, will give you a loan because you're showing your books. If you're starting out, you don't have that, and you really need access to capital to start out. And I've been in that position. And so we do not have any requirements for revenue that you've had. We're not going to check over that. We just require a sort of detailed budget for the project and a plan for what you're going to do in the space. If you're going to grow, if you're going to build a hoop house, we want to have a sort of plan in your space for that, because that's going to help the environmental review process and other sort of questions that may arise from that. And so when I mention commercial growers, does that include even very large operations? I mean, it depends what very large operations sort of means. I think it's we're definitely giving priority to, smaller growers. We're not going to give like a corporation that makes $1 million a year a $10,000 grant. Like that's not that's not really the priority. So it's if you're, definitely have quite a few acres and you want funding for like flamethrowers or weeders or something like that, you're welcome to apply for equipment like that. We have given money for that in the past. Okay, so Danielle asks, is expanding the operation to include purchasing or leasing additional lot or land a fundable project? Yes, I would say so. I would definitely apply for that type of fundable project. Yes. Can we apply multiple times for different projects? Yes, you can. Um, if you're thinking like, we have a few different, like we're a nonprofit and we have a few different school gardens or something, and we want to apply for each of those particular projects at a school garden or at a community garden, yes, like you can do that. I wouldn't say like I'm a commercial grower and I want to ask $10,000 for a greenhouse and I'm going to do a separate application to ask $10,000 for like a storage shed or something. I would just include a budget that has all of the things that you're needing, that you're interested in funding. And it can say like, this is all of the things that we want. And the total is $20,000, but you're asking for $10,000. Like you can do that. Like you can include in your budget over $10,000, like understanding that we're just going to fund $10,000. If we have been inspected and received a farm number, do we need to repeat the inspection? Um, Allison, I don't think that that's necessarily, I don't think that that's necessarily the same. A farm number is really helpful for FSA in general, I think, to know about your operation, but the particular project that you're doing, if it has any new ground disturbance, you're going to need an environmental review. Is that, Allison, is there anything to add? that?
That's my understanding as well. Yeah, nothing new
Okay,
to add.
great. Thank you. Okay, following Jenny's question, is it possible to apply as an organization that works with slash grows at multiple sites under a single application? Yes, we've had that in the past as well. You could say, I'm this organization, I've got three uh, lots, and I want to use the funding uh, to get beds at this one, to get some tools for another one. You can do that because it's your entity and you're able to distribute the funding to your organization to like the project how you see fit. Do the projects have to use traditional agriculture or can it be vertical farming? Yes, vertical farming is an acceptable project. If you need a rainwater system and a hoop house, is that two applications? No, I would say, like I said, just put the things that your project, like I'm doing a hoop house and this rainwater system is going to be integrated into it, or it's a part of like our operation. Include both of those things. That's okay. Like some people did, I need $5,000 for a drip irrigation system, and I'm going to use, $2,000 of it for XYZ. Like you can do that. Like you can include these things into $10,000. Like what I'm saying previously is not saying I need $10,000 for this and I need $10,000 for this. Like you can integrate a few different ways that you would like what your line items on your budget would be for a particular um like projects or hardware or equipment, whatever you might need, and labor. Like you can always include, $5,000 for this, and then I need $2,000 for labor, and then I need XYZ. So you can include that all in your budget. And we do have an example budget we have a template for you to use as well on the application. Okay, are applications considered on a rolling basis or all at the end after November? All at the end. I think because of how we assign the uh, the applications and our review team kind of depends on how many applications we get if we need to add more reviewers. So that is why we'll sort of be taking the full, month of December for everyone to be able to make the time to go through all the applications and review. The last round, we had about 150 applications and awarded 24. So it did take a little bit of time for everyone who was reviewing the applications to complete the process. Is a proposal more competitive for specific project funding versus a general operating proposal for our org that supports underserved populations? I would say be as specific as you can. That's helpful for sure. Um, However, an operating proposal for, serving a community that is underserved is going to weigh heavier in an application than one that doesn't. So it's not sort of one or the other, it's both. I mean, it's both and. So making sure that your budget is very clear, that your application really outlines your goal for implementation of your project and who it serves will be really helpful. If we are building raised beds, would that be considered a ground disturbance? I think that is still a question that they will ask. Yeah. And so I think that reinspection would still occur with a community garden that has been inspected by NRCS because I think they're looking for different things. And it might just make it a little bit speedier having that information. But yes, I would, um, even if it's just raised beds, it's still sitting on soil or sitting on the ground, even if it's a vacant lot. So I think in general, all of those questions are just asked and sort of checked by the environmental reviewer. Okay, Riley asks, can this serve a micro community in need such as a school or apartment building? Yes. You are able to apply for kind of whatever mini project or big project that it is. We have funded a housing cooperative that is doing a garden there at their building. So yes. Okay, that is all of the questions in the chat. Does anybody have another question? I'm going to put in it's in the chat again, the website that has the applications in English and Spanish. Again, we will be sharing this recording on um, on the same webpage. Yeah, so Riley's asking, can you share which housing cooperative you funded? If you click on that link and you go to, let me see if I can just, probably can't see yeah. In programs, it will say microgrants at the bottom, and it'll say our spring 2024 recipients. And so I think it's um, Northridge Co-op is on there. And so you can see all of the previous awardees on that page for the LA and the Bay Area for our FSA project. We haven't awarded any CDFA funding. This is the first round. This is the first time that we've gotten CDFA funding to distribute for our microgrant.
Great, thank you.
All right, I changed the screen. All right. Any other? Let's see. What if you are a commercial grower who's serving the Bay Area, but the farm is outside the Bay Area? The farm needs to be in one of those counties. And so I can go back to that slide. These are the counties. Will contacts for your partners be made available? Yes, they are also on that website. But Maria, Lisa, and Annalisa, if you guys want to throw your emails in the chat, that would be great. And then let's see. What's the other thing I was going to say? Oh, on the microgrant page, we have links to each of our partners' websites, so you're able to find their information there as well. And then I saw one more question. Dawn, yeah. So our partners in the Bay Area are Agroecology Commons and Vegilution, and so those are who we're working with currently. Those are our project partners. The bottom. Growing Roots there is one of our microgrant recipients for the spring. They are in Pomona and a great crew of people serving school food. Okay. And then I'm going to put here, that is the email address to email. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to email me, urbanag@caff.org, and I can hopefully answer questions that you might have. And again, November 30th at 11:59 p.m. is the deadline for the microgrant application. We are not looking at them on a rolling basis. You have until November 30th to apply, at which time we will begin reviewing applications in December. And both English and Spanish versions are available on the CAFF website. Yeah, if we don't have any other questions, we can wrap up a few minutes early. I'll share. Um, I'll stay on for a few minutes if anyone wants to hang around to ask questions in general, but thank you all for coming. Thank you for your time. Hi, Jennifer. See you
Hey,
up there.
I was just gonna ask if you said that you were gonna post the recording on the webpage. Okay, yeah, because
Yes.
I got on here a little bit late. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
I hope
And
you're
yeah,
doing good.
yeah, I hope you're doing good too. We miss you.
I
Jennifer
miss you
used to work
guys
at CAFF.
too.